Yo, let's cut the noise. You didn't click this video by accident. You're here because you know Eminem is one of the greatest to ever touch a mic. But even legends, they got highs. And they got what the hell was that moments too. This ain't your typical album ranking. This ain't some casual fan running through the hits. This is the real breakdown, the classics, the comebacks, the cringe, the controversy. We're going album by album, from Infinite to Music to Be Murdered By. The underground beginnings, the Slim Shady explosion, the Rehab records, the Machine Gun Kelly disses, the Rap God runs, the dad joke era, all of it. Because to really understand Eminem's legacy, you gotta take the whole ride. Not just the 8 Mile soundtrack, not just Stan or Lose Yourself. I'm talking about the messy in-betweens, the albums that changed the game, and the ones that had fans scratching their heads like, wait, this is the same guy? This man has dropped career-ending bars and also some of the worst hooks in hip-hop history. That's what makes it fascinating, the duality of M, lyrical genius and chaotic wildcard. Love him or hate him, he never phoned it in. Even when the world thought he fell off, he came back swinging, sharper, faster, and madder than ever. So whether you're a diehard stan, a casual listener, or you jumped ship after Encore, this one's for you. And before we dive in, do me a favor, hit that like button if you've ever argued with someone about Eminem's best album. Subscribe if you still remember the first time you heard Without Me, and drop a comment below. Tell me your top 3 M albums. No skips. Let's settle this in the comments. You already know what it is. It's your boy Elliot Wilson, and you're watching Fake Famous, the only place where we break down hip-hop history with receipts, real talk, and zero filter. Let's go. Infinite, 1996. Before the world knew Eminem, before the bleach blonde hair, the chainsaws, the controversies, the awards, there was just Marshall, a hungry kid from Detroit with a dream, a mic, and a $1,200 studio budget. Infinite was M's first official project, and let's be real, it wasn't bad. The bars, polished, the flow, clearly influenced by the greats, Nas, AZ, maybe even a little early J. The beats, jazzy, soulful, definitely in that Detroit Dilla type pocket. He was rapping about life, struggle, ambition, the kind of stuff that was real, but also kind of generic. That was the problem. The album was clean, almost too clean. It didn't sound like him yet. It sounded like someone trying to be a rapper instead of someone becoming a rapper. And the streets let him know. The response? Crickets? Nobody cared. No radio play, no buzz, no industry love. He sold maybe a couple hundred copies out the trunk, and even those were mostly to homies and family. But here's the plot twist. That failure was the best thing that ever happened to him, because Infinite is what broke Marshall and gave birth to Slim Shady. This was the moment he realized, yo, if I'm gonna stand out in this game, I can't just be lyrical. I gotta be crazy. I gotta be raw. I gotta be unapologetically me. So he threw the rulebook out the window. He dialed up the alter ego, the pain, the rage, the dark humor. All of it started right here in the ashes of Infinite. And years later, once M blew up, people went back and listened. Suddenly, it was a lost classic. People started saying, yo, he was nice even back then. But the truth is, Infinite wasn't the beginning of Eminem the superstar. It was the end of Marshall Mathers trying to sound like everyone else, and the start of Slim Shady kicking the door off its hinges. The Slim Shady LP, 1999. This is where it all changed. The Slim Shady LP wasn't just Eminem's major label debut. It was the official birth of a monster, Slim Shady. The alter ego that gave Marshall permission to say all the twisted, hilarious, violent, uncomfortable, and just plain wild thoughts he couldn't say as himself. It was unfiltered, it was cartoonish, it was horrifying, and it was brilliant. Let's talk about the moment it all went nuclear. My Name Is. That beat? Dre cooked it up on the spot. M heard it, wrote the hook in like 10 minutes, and the rest is history. This wasn't a rap song. It was a personality. We'd never seen anything like it. A white rapper cracking jokes about Pamela Anderson, Bill Clinton, and being an underpaid janitor. All in the same verse? It was funny, but under the surface, it was dangerous. Because Slim Shady didn't just diss celebrities. He said the quiet part out loud. Then you had tracks like Guilty Conscience, M and Dre playing angel and devil on a criminal's shoulder, narrating crimes like it was a game show. It was creative, it was risky, and it walked that thin line between storytelling and complete insanity. And then, there's 97 Bonnie and Clyde. Let's be real. This is one of the most disturbing songs M has ever made. It's literally him talking to his infant daughter while disposing of her mother's body. It's not even a metaphor, it's just straight up murder. But here's the thing. That shock value, it wasn't just for headlines, it was strategic. M knew that in order to stand out, especially as a white rapper in a black dominated genre, he couldn't just be good, he had to be impossible to ignore. And Slim Shady gave him the voice to do that. Now let's talk about Dr. Dre entering the picture wasn't just a cosign, it was a cosign from God. You're talking about one of the most respected producers in hip hop history saying, "Yo, this dude's crazy, but I'm with it." That gave M instant credibility. It silenced the skeptics, and more importantly, it gave him a platform and polish. The Slim Shady LP wasn't perfect. It was raw, offensive, and honestly too much for a lot of people. But that was the point. It introduced the world to Slim Shady. Not just the alter ego, but the brand, the chaos, the humor, the violence, the rapper who made you laugh, and then immediately question why you laughed. This album didn't just put Eminem on the map. It lit the map on fire. The Marshall Mathers LP 2000. If the Slim Shady LP was the spark, then the Marshall Mathers LP was the explosion. This is where Eminem became a problem, not just for the music industry, not just for other rappers, but for America. This album wasn't just platinum, it went diamond. That's 10 million sold. No social media, no TikTok dances, just controversy, bars, and one of the most iconic rap covers of all time. M sitting on his old porch in Detroit like a broken soul reflecting on the madness. But let's back up. Coming off the success of Slim Shady LP, everyone expected M to go commercial, polish it up, play it safe. Instead, he dropped an album so raw, so vicious, and so fearless, it had the FCC, GLAAD, Congress, and every PTA mom in the country on red alert. Let's run through the body count. Kill You opens the album with literal murder threats and lyrical warfare. The real Slim Shady, catchy, funny, and still a middle finger to pop culture. Stan, a haunting masterpiece, a fan letter turned murder-suicide. It was storytelling on a level that made people stop joking and realize, wait, this dude can really rap. But it wasn't just the music, it was the messaging. Eminem became the poster child for everything parents feared about hip-hop. Violence, homophobia, misogyny, but he also became a mirror, reflecting the hypocrisy of a society that consumed the chaos but pretended to be above it. And the genius of it all? He did it as himself, not just Slim Shady. This was Marshall Mathers on wax, angry, isolated, defensive. He was famous now, but hated it. He had money, but still felt broke inside. The fame brought lawsuits, media attacks, family drama, and he aired it all out, loud. And then there was the pen. This man was writing like his life depended on it. No filler, no skips, punchlines that hit like haymakers, verses that aged like wine, or like a lawsuit, depending on who you ask. And let's not forget Dre. Once again, behind the boards, guiding the chaos. Dre's production on this album wasn't just support. It was cinematic, dark, gritty, explosive. He gave M the perfect canvas to paint his demons. The Marshall Mathers LP didn't just break records, it broke the mold. It told every rapper, if you want to be great, you have to bleed on the mic. This wasn't a rap album, it was a cultural earthquake. And the aftershocks, we still feel them today. The Eminem Show 2002. This is the victory lap, but not the kind with champagne and private jets. The Eminem Show was a man at the top, paranoid, pissed off, and painfully self-aware. By 2002, Eminem wasn't just the best-selling rapper. He was the most talked about human being in music. Every headline, every protest, every late-night joke. It was M, and what does he do? He drops an album called The Eminem Show. Like he's inviting you into his twisted little Truman Show of fame, fatherhood, and fallout. Lights, camera, trauma. This album was different. Less Slim Shady chaos. More Marshall Mathers honesty. It wasn't just shock value anymore. This was commentary on America, on fame, on free speech, on himself. White America kicks the door off the hinges, not a single punch pulled. He straight up says, look, the only reason y'all even care is because I'm white. That's self-awareness you don't usually get from global superstars. Cleaning out my closet? Whew. That wasn't a diss track, and it was a therapy session. That raw pain in his voice when he talks about his mom, you felt that. And then you got Sing for the Moment, flipping Aerosmith into an anthem for every misunderstood angry kid who found salvation in a verse. That song didn't just chart, it healed people. But don't get it twisted. The technicals were still elite. Till I Collapse, Soldier, Business. M was rapping like he was daring anyone to test him. And that Dre production, still in the mix, but this time M took the wheel more. He started producing a lot of the album himself, and he snapped. That cinematic, almost rock-influenced vibe, that was intentional. Because this wasn't just an album, it was a performance. And let's talk numbers real quick. The Eminem Show was the best-selling album of 2002 across all genres. Not just rap, pop, rock, country. None of them touched this. That's the moment when the industry realized this wasn't just a phase. This wasn't just shock rap. Eminem was an era, but even in the glory, there was tension. He knew the fame was eating at him. He knew the shady persona had a shelf life. And this album feels like him trying to control the narrative before it controls him. The Eminem Show is M at his sharpest. As a rapper, as a writer, as a producer, as a cultural force. It wasn't just a show, it was a message. And the message was clear. I'm not going anywhere. Encore, 2004. And now, the beginning of the decline. Encore is one of the most confusing albums in Eminem's catalog. It's like watching a superhero slowly fall out the sky. Still powerful, but clearly off his game. Let's get straight to it. There's two M's on this album. One is still locked in. Sharp, introspective, capable of greatness. The other, goofy, lazy, and borderline trolling. We'll start with the good. Like Toy Soldiers. Incredible storytelling. He opens up about beefs, violence in hip-hop, and how it's all gone too far. That track was mature, thoughtful, a rare moment of clarity in an album filled with chaos. Mockingbird. Maybe one of his most heartfelt songs ever. Just a dad talking to his daughter trying to make sense of a broken family while the world watches. That's the M fans love. Raw, honest, vulnerable. Even Mosh had impact, and it was political. Anti-Bush, anti-war, pro-people. It showed M was paying attention, not just to music, but the moment. But then the wheels come off. Big Weenie. Ass Like That. Rain Man. Bruh, what are we doing? It felt like M was mocking the idea of being Eminem, almost like he was too famous to care. The voices got weirder, the punchlines got cheaper, and the energy gone. Some of it was substance, literally. Eminem was deep in addiction during this time. Pills, sleepwalking through sessions, surrounded by yes men. You can hear it in the music. He wasn't hungry, he was just here. And let's not forget the live Encore outro, where he fake shoots himself on stage. Symbolic? Yes. But also kind of eerie in hindsight. It felt like a cry for help wrapped in a bad joke. The critics clowned it. The fans were split. Some stayed loyal, others checked out. But here's the thing. Even at his worst, M was still selling, still breaking records, because even amid Eminem was better than most people's best. Encore wasn't a total flop, but it was a red flag. The beginning of a spiral. A legend trying to hold it together while quietly falling apart. If the Eminem Show was the empire, Encore was the empire with a crack in the foundation. And the next album? That foundation completely crumbles. Relapse, 2009. Relapse is Eminem's darkest album, not just in subject matter, but in vibe, in tone, in spirit. After Encore, M disappeared, like vanished from the game. No interviews, no music, no movement. Why? Because he was fighting for his life. The drugs had taken over, sleeping pills, painkillers, everything. He overdosed, almost died. Went to rehab, started over, and Relapse is the result of that. A twisted, surgical, drug-fueled exorcism of everything he had been bottling up for 5 years. But here's the thing. It's brilliant and bizarre. Let's start with the pen. Technically, M was on fire. His rhyme schemes were so complex, so airtight. It was like watching a scientist dissect syllables in real time. He was rapping like a man possessed. Just listen to 3 a.m. That beat is haunting. Those bars? Disturbing. It's horrorcore at its finest. You're not supposed to enjoy it, but you can't stop listening. Deja Vu is the Relapse anthem. He breaks down addiction in real time. The lies, the denial, the self-destruction. You feel like you're inside his brain as it's unraveling. Beautiful is one of the only moments of real vulnerability. No accents, no characters, just martial, tired, isolated, human. That track hit people in the chest. But now, let's talk about the accents. Yeah, you knew it was coming. For some reason, M decided this was the album to experiment with serial killer voices, cartoon villain flows, and British German something dialects that no one asked for. Bagpipes from Baghdad? Bro, what? It sounded like Borat doing coke in a recording booth. It distracted from the greatness. People couldn't tell if it was art or just weird. And that's why Relapse is one of the most polarizing albums in M's catalog. Critically, mixed, commercially, it still went platinum because it's M. But even he later admitted he overdid it. In fact, he had a whole Relapse 2 ready and scrapped it. But here's the twist. In hindsight, Relapse aged surprisingly well. It's cohesive, it's cinematic, it's the sound of a man crawling out of hell with a mic in his hand. This wasn't the comeback, this was the detox. He had to get this off his chest. The horror, the trauma, the addiction, so he could finally come back to life. Relapse was ugly, uncomfortable, and underappreciated, but necessary. The monster was out of the cage. Now it was time for the man to return. Recovery, 2010. Recovery was exactly what it sounds like. This wasn't Slim Shady. This wasn't the chainsaw-wielding psycho or the drugged-out word acrobat. This was Marshall Bruce Mathers III, sober, self-aware, and swinging for the fences. After the chaos of Relapse, M hit the reset button. He scrapped Relapse 2, tossed the horrorcore, and walked back into the booth with clarity. No pills, no gimmicks, no accents, just bars, emotion, and radio-friendly anthems. Let's talk about the music. Not Afraid. This was M on a mountaintop, uplifting, motivational, the kind of track that sounds like it belongs in a Nike commercial or a therapy session. Some fans loved it, others were like, yo, who is this guy in the inspirational hoodie? Then you had Love the Way You Lie with Rihanna, chart-topping, record-breaking, a brutally honest look at toxic love from both sides, and it worked. Rihanna's hook hit deep. M's verses were raw and conflicted. It was pop, but it was pain, and that's the theme here. Recovery was mainstream misery. M poured his struggles into polished beats and crossover appeal. Going through changes, talking to myself, spacebound, all vulnerable, all emotional. You could hear the therapy in the verses. But here's the thing, and it's important. Recovery split the fan base. Day one stans were like, where's the darkness? Where's the shock? Where's Shady? But the world was changing. Hip-hop was evolving. And M, he adapted. The production leaned more pop rock. He brought in Just Blaze, Boy One Da, Alex da Kid, no Dre this time. And that shift, you either loved it or hated it. Technically, he was still elite. The rhymes were there. The delivery was ferocious. But the edge, the unpredictability, it was dulled by design. Because M wasn't trying to be your favorite rapper anymore. He was trying to be your survivor story, proof that you can fall off, overdose, disappear, and come back cleaner, stronger, and more focused than ever. Commercially, this was a W Album of the Year at the AMAs, Grammy for Best Rap Album, over 7 million sold worldwide. So yeah, Recovery was a comeback, but it came with a trade-off. Less Slim Shady, more stadium shows, less chaos, more clarity. This wasn't M going soft, it was M choosing life, and for better or worse, it worked. The Marshall Mathers LP to 2013. Sequels are tricky, especially when the original is the Marshall Mathers LP, one of the most iconic, chaotic, culture-shifting rap albums ever made. So when M announced a part 2, people were skeptical. Like, seriously, why go back? But when the album dropped, it was clear. This wasn't about repeating the past. It was about reconciling with it. This was M revisiting his roots, not to relive them, but to rewrite them. Let's talk sound. Rick Rubin executive produced a lot of this, and you can hear it. Rock samples, aggressive drums, and stripped-back beats. It had this throwback feel, but with modern polish. Dre was still around, but Rubin gave the album that raw, guitar-smashing edge. Now the bars? This was one of the most lyrically dense albums M had ever dropped. He was rhyming entire paragraphs, double-time flow, triple entendres, internal rhymes inside internal rhymes. Rap God was the flex. 6 minutes of verbal carnage. He raps 97 words in 15 seconds, just because he can. It was part Guinness World Record, part lyrical ego trip. Love it or hate it, it was a reminder. Don't get it twisted, I still run circles around your favorite rapper. Berserk brought that Beastie Boys chaos. Survival was built for stadiums and video games. So Far was weird, but hilarious. Classic M storytelling over a Joe Walsh sample. And then there's Headlights. Now this was unexpected. A full-blown apology to his mom. After years of disses, lawsuits, and trauma, he finally says, "I'm sorry." And it felt real. It showed growth. It showed Marshall trying to clean up after Slim. But here's the catch. As a sequel to the first MMLP, it didn't really hit the same emotionally. The original was gritty, controversial, unstable. This one was more technical, more calculated, less shock value, more syllables per second. The hunger wasn't the same, but the skill, still unmatched. Some fans called it a comeback, others said it was overkill. But either way, M proved he wasn't just relevant, he was still elite. The Marshall Mathers LP2 didn't replace the original. It wasn't meant to. It was M looking back at the wreckage and saying, "Yeah, I made that mess. Now let me rap my way through it." Not a return to form, more like an evolution of the form. Revival, 2017. Let's just get this out the way. Revival is Eminem's most hated album, and honestly, he kinda knew it would be. Coming off the technical high of MMLP2, expectations were sky high. Fans were hoping for a rebirth. Instead, they got something that felt like a TED Talk in rhyme form. Let's break it down. First, the intent. Eminem wanted to get serious. This was post-Trump, post-Charlottesville, post-woke explosion. And M? He jumped headfirst into the political deep end. Anti-Trump, pro-activism, very online. The infamous BET freestyle. Remember that? He basically disowned any fan who supported Trump. It was bold. It was viral. But it also turned off a lot of people. That tone carried into the album. Untouchable tackled police brutality and white privilege. Like Home with Alicia Keys. Full-on protest anthem. Castle and A Rose. Those were the emotional highlights. Letters to his daughter and a near-death reflection during his OD. But let's be real. It wasn't the message people had a problem with. It was the execution. This album was bloated, 19 tracks, too many features, way too many pop hooks, Pink, Beyonce, Kalani, Ed Sheeran. Bruh, what is happening? Walk on Water with Beyonce. Huge names, underwhelming result. It sounded more like a Grammy commercial than an album opener. And the production? Let's just say it wasn't it. No Dre, no Edge. It felt sterile, overproduced. Like M was chasing moments, not making music. Even die-hard fans were like, "Yo, what is this?" The bars were still there, technically, but the energy? Gone. It didn't feel like Slim Shady. Didn't feel like Marshall either. It felt like Eminem trying to win an argument on Facebook. And to his credit, M heard the backlash. Loud and clear. He said in interviews that he was trying to make an important album, one that mattered. But when the dust settled, even he admitted, yeah, this one missed the mark. But here's the thing about Revival. It mattered because it flopped. It pissed him off. It lit the fire. It's the album that made him go back in the lab, furious, ready to prove everyone wrong. So while Revival didn't hit the charts like Recovery and didn't impress fans like Relapse, it gave us something even more important, Kamikaze. Now this was personal. After the dragging he got for Revival, Eminem wasn't just hurt, he was pissed. And instead of hiding from the hate, he dropped an album called Kamikaze, without warning, without promo, and without mercy. This was the audio equivalent of flipping a table. It starts with the cover, a fighter jet crashing in flames, a nod to the Beastie Boys' License to Ill, but this time, M's the pilot, and he's going down on purpose, just to take everybody with him. And from the very first track, The Ringer, he's already in kill mode, dissing the Grammys, dissing critics, dissing literally the entire new school. Lil Yachty, Lil Pump, Joe Budden, Tyler, the Creator. Nobody was safe. Not even Machine Gun Kelly, who honestly had no idea he was about to get bodied. Let's talk about Not Alike. That's where M launches a full-scale lyrical missile at MGK. And MGK fired back with Rap Devil. But then M dropped Kill Shot, and let's be real, it was a rap. Kill Shot wasn't even on the album, but the Kamikaze energy bled right into it. This wasn't about charts. It was about respect, and M was out for blood. Now production-wise, way sharper than Revival. He brought back Mike Will Made It, Tay Keith, even did some beats himself. It felt urgent, hard-hitting, like every track was designed to rattle your car speakers and your ego. Tracks like Lucky You with Joyner Lucas, straight up Bar Olympics, just two spitters trying to one-up each other, and the fans won. Fall, another subliminal attack, this time aimed at bloggers, media heads, even longtime fans. M basically said, if you turned on me, fuck you, I'm still better than you. And the wild part, he's not wrong. This album was a full sprint. 43 minutes of lyrical warfare, no pop hooks, no radio baits, just venom and vengeance. But it wasn't all fire and fury. Some fans felt it was too angry, too reactive, like M was more concerned with internet comments than crafting timeless music. And maybe there's some truth in that. But here's the thing. Even at his most defensive, M is still sharper than 90% of rappers breathing. Kamikaze wasn't about creating classics. It was about reminding everyone why you don't come for Marshall Mathers. It was a warning shot, disguised as a final blow. And for the first time in years, M sounded hungry again. Music to be Murdered by 2020. This album was a curveball. After the all-out assault that was Kamikaze, people expected M to either flame out or disappear again. But instead, he got creative. Music to be Murdered by dropped out of nowhere. No warning, no lead single. Just a shadowy cover, an Alfred Hitchcock theme, and a body count. This wasn't just an album. It was a concept. Inspired by Hitchcock's 1958 album of the same name, M crafted a project that played out like a suspense thriller. Dark, calculated, full of plot twists, but the rhymes, still deadly. Right out the gate. Premonition, intro. He's in his bag, talking about how people begged him to come back, only to tear him down the moment he did. The tone is eerie, paranoid, but focused. And then comes Godzilla. Whew! If Rap God was a flex, Godzilla was a world record. M spits 224 words in 30 seconds. It's a literal tongue twister on steroids, a viral moment, a technical masterclass. And to make it even heavier, it featured Juice WRLD, who had just passed. That feature became a tribute, bittersweet, powerful, timely. Then you've got Darkness, possibly the most haunting song M has ever released. It's told from the POV of the Las Vegas mass shooter. But the twist? It doubles as a metaphor for M's anxiety before a performance. Layered, disturbing. And the video? Full-on PSA about gun violence. It wasn't about shock value. It was a statement. That's what made Music to be Murdered by different. Yes, the bars were sharp. Yes, the disses were still flying. Lord Jamar, Nick Cannon, MGK caught a few more strays, but there was also substance, reflection, mortality. It was Marshall reckoning with the fact that he's closer to the end than the beginning, and still hasn't slowed down. And then, boom, Side B drops 11 months later, a deluxe album that's basically a whole second album, more tracks, more features, still no warning, tone deaf, Nat, killer, remix. He's rapping like he's got something to prove in every bar, which is wild, because he doesn't. M could have coasted, lived off his legacy, but instead, he dropped one of the most technically impressive and thematically heavy albums of his career, 25 years in. Music to be Murdered by wasn't about chasing hits. It was about sharpening the knife and reminding you, if you come for M, you better bring a body bag, because Slim Shady never really dies, he just changes masks. The Death of Slim Shady, 2025. This is the next chapter, and honestly, it might be the final one. Let's break it down. What we know, so far. Back in early 2024, M teased a new project titled The Death of Slim Shady, subtitled Coup de Grace, which literally means a final blow intended to end suffering. The promo? Straight funeral vibes, black and white posters, a fake obituary for Slim Shady, a true crime-style trailer, M narrating his own legacy like he's been murdered by himself. And that's exactly what this album is shaping up to be. A lyrical execution of the Slim Shady persona, of the controversy, of the chaos, of everything that made Eminem, Eminem. Why now? Let's be real. Slim Shady was never supposed to live forever. He was a product of rage, trauma, and addiction. He made M famous, but also nearly killed him. And M has been teasing this death for years. Encore ended with him faking his death. Relapse had him spiraling into madness. Recovery was M clean, saying goodbye to the pills, when slowly to Shady. Revival tried to grow up and got clowned. Kamikaze was like a last burst of Shady fury. Music to be Murdered by? That was a funeral in slow motion. This next album? It sounds like the final nail in the coffin. What fans are expecting? A full-blown concept album, possibly with skits, storytelling, and a murder mystery theme. Some of the most honest, self-aware bars of his career. M reflecting on the legacy of Slim Shady, the good, the bad, the ugly. Maybe even new characters or voices replacing Slim Shady entirely. Rumors are swirling that this could be M's last album, or at least the end of an era. But let's be real, even if Slim dies, Marshall still breathes. The real question? If Slim Shady is dead, what's left of Eminem? This has been another breakdown from Fake Famous. I'm Elliot Wilson, and if you made it this far, you already know what it is. Hit that like, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. We drop new episodes every week, and the next one might just be about your favorite rapper. Stay tapped in.